Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Delete the Order. I work at a call center for a power company. Many calls I have are to start or transfer service to new addresses, which is simple enough. All it takes is putting in your info in our system to start service at the new address, and boom, you get an account number. What makes it a slightly more complicated and lengthy process is when there's no meter already installed at that location. One customer called in to start service somewhere, and she, for whatever reason, couldn't grasp that there wasn't an electric meter at the place she was moving to, and we had to put one in. She thought there should be one there already, but there just isn't. So I was explaining to her that we need to do it this way, so she can have service. And in order to do that, there's an inspection needed to be done, so we can determine where we need to place the meter, and if there'd be a power pole needed as well. Now that just ticked her off, and she started yelling, saying we're just making things difficult for her, adding more requirements just because we like making things more difficult for people. At this point I just tune her out, because this is pointless and also nothing I haven't heard before, honestly. At this time too, she wanted us to just delete the order we have already placed to get her service on, so she can talk about it to her landlord first. I tried warning her, stating if we delete the order now, then it could delay getting her service on even longer, since we have to start the process over from scratch if we do so. She was having none of it and still yelled at me to delete the order. I mentally just said screw it and told her, alright, I can delete it for you if you wish. She harshly said, just do it, and hung up the phone. I did and just moved on, chuckling to myself, thinking that she just screwed herself over a bit. The next story is called Choose Your Own Topic. When I was still fairly new to the job, I was asked to speak at a conference. This conference was actually a promotional event being organized by a manufacturer of a chemical used in my industry. I was employed by a government department to be an independent advisor, not beholden to any particular manufacturer or supplier. I felt that speaking at this event was a major conflict of interest, as it would appear that I was openly promoting this particular chemical. However, senior people in my organization were not so ethical. The department was a boys' club, and the manufacturer of the chemical was one of these boys. They told me I had to accept the invitation. Even worse, the initial agenda looked like this: John, topic A; Tom, topic B; Harry, topic C; someone from X department, topic to be announced. The role of someone from X department fell to me by default, because the other, more preferred candidates were unavailable. I didn't even have an actual place or role on the agenda. I was just an expert to fill a gap. I asked the conference organizer what they wanted me to speak about. How about topic A, they said. I told them that was being covered by John already. A similar discussion was had about topics B and C. Eventually, the conference organizer said, well, why don't you call the other speakers, see what they are talking about and see where you can fit in? Hang on a minute, it's not my role to do all of my own legwork to find a topic. That is your role as an organizer. My role as a speaker is to take the topic you give me, do my research, write my talk and deliver it. And quite frankly, if the organizers couldn't think of a topic, did I really need to be a presenter at all? I thought fine, if you want me to choose my own topic, then I'm going to present another point of view. There had been some recent research into other chemicals, and the results were promising, so I thought I'd talk about this research. And to be quite honest, I simply couldn't think of another topic, as I felt every base had been covered by people much more experienced than me. So I informed the conference organizers that I had chosen my topic, and I would speak about the recent work on these other products. I then got hold of the results of the research and wrote what I think was a pretty good speech. Well, a few days later, the conference organizers rang me and said they didn't need me after all. No apology for wasting my time was given. The third story is called Humiliating the Supervisor. This happened several years ago. I, 55 female, have been working for the same place for over 20 years. Here comes a new supervisor. My previous temp supervisor hated me because, well, he just hated women. Period. So when the new boss took over, he gave him an earful about me. I do my job very well, but I take crap off no one. Which resulted in me and my temporary supervisor bumping heads. So when the new supervisor took over, I was the problem child. He hated me from day one. No matter what, he hated me. One day at work I was feeling horrible and told him I needed to leave to go to the hospital. If looks could kill, I would have dropped dead right in front of him. He didn't want me to leave. I left anyway, and thank God I did, because I was truly sick. I had an emergency surgery that night and was out of work for 2 months. While I was out of work, this man called me every week as to when I was coming back. He was lucky because I was on heavy medicine at the time and didn't feed into his BS. 2 months later, I'm back at work and realized none of my work was done by my backup person. I had over 509 reports that needed to go on our website. I asked him what happened, and he told me don't worry about it. I thought that was weird, because these reports needed to go up within a 60-day period, and it was well past the 60 days. A few days later, I asked again, and he said no, don't post it, because he had other people to do my job. I said okay. I then went and sent him an email confirming he didn't want me to post it. He came back saying yes, I don't want you to touch it. I said okay and saved my email. A few months later, people started inquiring about the reports and why the new ones were not posted. It got to the big bosses, and they questioned both of us. He didn't know they had already questioned me about it, and he started yelling at me about not doing my job. I sat there at my desk just smiling, when he went in about getting me fired. I simply said, "Oh, are you talking about the reports you told me not to post?" He said, "I never said that." I turned to my computer and printed out the email stating I was not to touch the reports. The look on his face was priceless. I then told him I sent a copy of this email to upper management and they know it wasn't my fault. By this time, his supervisor was yelling for him to get in his office. I smiled and said, "Good luck with that." He ended up leaving a few months later. I got the biggest satisfaction in knowing I got him in trouble and I kept my job. The next story is called "I'm Meant to Help." This happened 16 years ago. When I was about 20 years old, I was a department manager in a big box hardware store. People said I acted 25, but I didn't even look 18. As a young female, I saw a fair amount of discrimination, but the worst always came from women. I managed the paint department. I had 3 associates who worked for me. They loved me as a boss because I bought them a department radio and took the shifts they didn't want. I worked Friday close and Saturday mid. This way, my 2 younger guys could have time to have fun on Friday nights, and the older gentlemen took early Saturday mornings so they could sleep off their fun. In trade, I gave the older gentleman his ideal schedule. My team was awesome. One day I was in the department alone, and a lady came up and asked me where she could find the 5-gallon all-base primer. I let her know that my location didn't carry the 5-gallon size of that primer. She told me that we did and said that it was shelved right there, while suggesting I was too stupid to remember. Her husband gave me an apologetic look. I let her know that another location had what she was looking for and that it was in fact in that exact location in that store. She let me know how stupid she thought I was for thinking she could mix up stores. Then she began yelling and loudly insisting that I get a man out there to help her because she wanted someone competent and not a stupid little girl. Her husband actually tried to step in at that point, but I just smiled and let her know that a male paint associate would be clocking in any minute, and that I would be happy to direct him to her as soon as he is on the clock. I smiled and waited for Joe to clock in. Joe was great and I knew he could handle this or I wouldn't have put him in this situation. But Joe was also new. He was learning things super quickly but still relied on the rest of us for help. When I saw Joe walking up, I quickly said that there was a customer who needed help. I let him know that she was upset and asked him to do his best to answer her questions. Joe walked up to the lady. She said, "Finally, a man." She asked her question, explained where the product should be, and waited. Joe calmly let her know that he had never seen us carry the 5-gallon size of all-base primer, but said he could check with the paint department manager. She was happy and loudly said she was happy to be getting some real help. Joe walked up to me and started to ask me about 5-gallon all-base primers. The lady quickly walked up and asked him what he was doing. He turned and said, "This is my manager, she runs this department." The husband laughed out loud. The woman stormed off and I bought Joe lunch. The last story is called "Follow My Directions." This happened around the early 2000s when I was working for my uncle's fencing company. Customer A purchased a newly constructed home. Cookie cutter, everything builder grade. The land plots were divided only by fluorescent orange marking spray paint. Hardly official. My uncle submitted a bid per customer A's request and we got the project. We had the lowest bid, around $1,200 lower than the competition. The caveat? We collect full payment upfront. Not a deal breaker for customers as we accept credit card payments. This way both parties are protected from fraud. During that time my uncle had just left his previous job as a land surveyor. His specialty? Property line surveying. The estimated property line, marked by the above mentioned orange spray paint, was nearly 2 feet off on one side of customer A's property. My uncle makes the necessary adjustments and we start digging the post holes. Then customer A makes a surprise job site visit. He sees our post holes and turns beet red. He rushes towards us and starts dropping F-bombs left and right. What the F are you idiots doing? You are giving away part of my property to my effing neighbor. Can't you effers effing see the bright orange marking on the effing dirt? I want you geniuses to fill up these holes ASAP and dig right where the orange lines are. I want my fence directly on top of the orange lines. I just about lost it and was about to get in customer A's face. My uncle stops me and he tries to explain, the orange lines are off. I'm the one paying here, not you, so you follow my effing directions. Please let me explain. No, 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 I have paid you in full. You are not paid to explain. You are paid to build my fence exactly the way I want it, where I want it. This effing conversation is over. He drives off and my uncle looks at me with a malicious smile. Let's grab an early lunch and then we'll give him what he wants. I shrug. Over lunch he calls my aunt, his secretary, to have her draft a new work order contract. In it, it explicitly and officially noted that the fence will be built 22 inches east of the official property line, and that the customer will shoulder full responsibility and liability should a conflict arise either with their future new neighbor or any other party. Aunt emails the contract to customer A. My uncle and I have our 2 martini lunch hour. Aunt calls and says customer A has signed and emailed the new contract back to her. So now that we have a paper trail, we go back to the site and continue working. That same afternoon, customer A pays us another visit and says, just checking to see if you decided to follow my instructions. You idiots didn't wait for me to sign a new contract before resuming work, did you? We sure did. As he turned around to leave, I can hear him mouth something off. Effing idiots. Upon completion, 3 days later, he signs off that the work was satisfactory. He was still in jerk mode, refusing to acknowledge either my uncle or me when we thanked him for his business. 4 months later, he contacts my uncle again, requesting for him to bid on a new project. Yep, you guessed it, to move the existing fence on top of the official property line. We gave him an unreasonably high bid and still secured the project. This time around he was a teddy bear throughout the entire project. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. And I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.